Cool. We are live. Welcome, folks, to this latest installment of the Coaches Connect community call for our PN coaches. Glad to have you here. Glad to see some returning faces and some new faces as well. As always, this call is led primarily by you. I have some topics up my sleeve to get us started, but before we get started, does anyone have anything that they would like to explore, either demo and pro coach or any questions, client scenarios? It is all fair game today.
I had a question, Jeremy. I just wanted to get people's just opinions and how they're doing navigating the marketplace if they have had experience with either Bark or Thumbtack for paying for like leads for client generation.
I have no feedback here, but it looks like Daniel's got his hand up. Daniel, what do you got for us?
All right. Yeah, so on that topic, I mean, I have used Thumbtack before. I've used Bark. I've used different sources and resources to try to get clients through third-party marketing strategies. They have worked in the past, but the problem is that they work for a little bit, and the thing that happened with Thumbtack for me, and I'll put my hand down because I realized it's still up. Is that say with Thumbtack, they were owned by one person, got sold, bought by another, and then what they did was they changed the modeling, they changed everything that was there, and it became much less of what it was and more about trying to get as much money off of every single person that's trying to market on their services, um, as much as possible without really giving much in return. So really it dwindles down to like nothing. I got rid of it. So I would say be cautious and don't put too much stock into those kind of services.
Did you find that because it seemed to me like the leads are getting their obviously really cold leads. Did you find that the client retention with those clients was worse, or was it?
So I will address this in I guess two ways. The leads weren't actually supposed to be cold. They are actually supposed to be almost a warm lead. They were at one point anyway. So with Thumbtack, what they would do is they would get a service request, and this happens with like Angie's List and things like that. You get a lead request, and what happens is they're filling out a form, and based on that form information, they're basically sending that to the most well, first off, the person that is closest to your area of work. So if you're in a service provider in that area, they're going to generate that lead into the pool of potential candidates in the area. And they'll say, hey, we got somebody, this person needs such and such help, and can you help them? And what the old model was is five people, they would give basically five professionals the chance to respond. Once those five respondents came in, that window would close. Now it goes up to like 15.
Oh, wow.
And not only that, but most of the time, what's happening is you're getting bigger companies that are going in there that have a little bit more financial backing than you, expanding the area, dumping more resources into their marketing inside their platform, and kind of taking all that. So it shrivels up pretty quickly. So like I said, you just gotta be cautious.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that.
No worries. I'm glad I could help.
And just for Daniel and Tony here, could one of you please explain to us lesser individuals here what
Oh,
is Thumbtack?
Um, so yeah, what these services are is they are basically like third-party marketing services. So essentially,
Hmm.
we are service professionals, not marketing professionals. We Most people suffer in this industry because we're terrible at marketing. We have zero understanding almost about how marketing really works. and where to put our marketing dollars, and everything's confusing, just like pretty much everything else. Information is really hard to get to the right people at the right timing so that they make the right decision. Which most marketing is always in your face because eventually you're going to be ready to take the plunge. So we want to be ready and willing to get those people, but you have to have money for that to keep it on people's vision all the time. What these companies do is they're like a pool. So you essentially use them to, you're saying, okay, this is the service I provide. I'm a, you could say I'm a personal trainer in the New Jersey area, and I service this specific area, and you can pick and choose, and they will give you leads of people that are looking for this specific service in your area because they're marketing for you without you having to do the marketing.
That sounds like a good summary there. So essentially, it's like I, as a customer, may be looking for a particular service. I put in what my needs are, or I use a filtering system to try and find a particular professional. Anyone who has like those same keywords or the same like offers a similar adjacent service will be filtered towards that lead.
And one of the biggest uh, kind of contenders in the space was Angie's List. You would see commercials for them all the
Hmm.
time. They would be like, "Oh, come to Angie's List, blah blah blah." They had a paid for strategy that you would pay ahead of time. You paid like a membership. Everything else that came after that was like, "No, you don't have to pay monthly. We'll basically charge you when you know, on the leads we send. So if you take a lead and they actually reply back to you, then you get charged." And it actually allowed them to charge more, way more per month than people would ever be willing to spend on a monthly. I mean, there were times when I was spending like 150, 250, $300 a month to send out leads. And yeah, you might pick one up and say, "Hey, I got one lead, I got one, paying client. So $300 for 1 month of marketing uh, got me a 6 month year contract or something so that I can now pay for that marketing." So it works out, but to some degree, when it stops really being lucrative, it doesn't really pan out. So
Gotcha. Tony, you were inquiring about using this service. Have you used it yourself?
No, but I'm playing with the idea, and what my theory is that these because I've have colleagues that are using it successfully, but it looked like the turnover was a lot higher. So I wanted to see what the rate was for a colder client versus someone who's been in your system for a long time. Maybe they're on your email list, maybe they're in your Facebook group, they're a friend for a while. Like, is it gonna be worth me trying to convince somebody that's like in Kentucky, like I had a call like are they gonna stay longer or is it worth me just doubling down on the organic or the organic conversion I'm doing now is what I'm trying to
uh,
fill out. Like, well, maybe people have had good success. Maybe the coaches that I talked to were just not as good.
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
have
go ahead,
something to
Daniel.
say about that. Yeah, no. So what I would tell you is that your retention will be sort of hand in hand with your strategy and what you put together for your initial sort of when you're basically trying to get your pitch together to what you're going to pitch them.
The offer,
If you yeah the your first offer, if your first offer is super low just because you want to get them in the door, expect them not to stay very long because they're
yeah.
probably fishing for the best price. If your offer is more reasonable to what your services are in general, and you can kind of stick within that model, and then you find leads on that, you're probably looking at a person who's going to be willing to stick with you longer because you're already sort of upfront about those prices to begin with, and they're not really fishing. They really want the best person for the job. So, and then it also goes to what you're delivering in that first initial session. Like, what are you really delivering to them value wise? And will they potentially go run after the next person that was on their list of other professionals that were contacted as well? They might just say, "Well, this person was a little bit less, and they seem pretty comparable." So that could be it as well. So it's sort of a fishing game, unfortunately, when it comes to that kind of a helpful. So you know, take it for what it is.
Fair, yeah. So it sounds like there is some crossover in terms of uh, your ability to make a connection, forge a connection with the client through those first few sessions, as well as maybe a more price sensitive market here, as they are like kind of inundated with more options. So they're a little bit more frugal and like kind of testing the waters a little bit more than someone who would come through from organic reach and they've been maybe following you for a while. Maybe you have a pre-existing relationship, they're probably not test driving half a dozen other coaches at the same time. Samantha, what do you got?
Yeah, hi. I was going to switch topics if that's okay. I have a different unrelated question.
Yeah, well, just let me bring it back to Tony for a second. Tony, do you
Okay.
have what you need there?
It's perfect. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you for getting us kicked off. Samantha, go for it.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sam, working corporate marketing full time and just started coaching on the side. So excited to get to where you guys are at in Talk Shop, but very much in beginning stages as a coach right now with really just three beta clients signed up. And I finished the level one certification, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And would love any advice folks have more experienced coaches for someone in my shoes just getting started, either if you have an answer or if you're like, hey, you need to go do this training or check out this resource, or just give it more time and fail and try again. But I think the thing I'm struggling with is like coming out of the level one certification, having a really good understanding of the philosophy and principles behind level one clients, and that really best practice is taking them through a series of small actions and habit building over time. And I love that. Some of my clients are like right on board with that and they get it and they're patient. I have other clients who they just want the macro meal plan with the
I like
calorie
this.
target and they constantly want to, they're wanting to just jump to almost like level two. They have a history of yo-yo dieting that hasn't worked. And so I think as a new coach, I haven't found my groove and I don't quite have the confidence to like really push back. I have given some clients the options where I'll be like, here's what I strongly recommend doing. And here's the other route. And they're like, okay, I want the other route. Um, which is that like, and I'm using Pro Coach. So which is that, like meal plan. And so anyways, yeah, I'll just leave it at that, but we'll open it up to like any advice you guys have in that department.
So I'll open it up to coaches here. Any feedback for Samantha, who is newer in the approach? Sounds like you have the fundamentals down, but you're experiencing those first few clients where it's like they may not align in an ideal way with your coaching practice or your coaching philosophy. Anyone have any feedback for Sam? Tony.
Yeah, first off, Sam, congratulations. I mean, making that jump to getting your first two clients is just like super exciting. So be super proud of what you're doing. And my answer is not going to go with PN, even though like I'm a PN master coach. You're going to have to find the group that works for you and keeping your clients happy. What I mean by that, because if they're like, because I had the same issue where people are like, oh, like, cool, like I can chew, like I need to do other stuff, then you're gonna have to find something that gets that sweet spot of them wanting to work with you, getting really excited, really captivated, getting results as well. So it's kind of like this is like the baseline, and this is like would be awesome if you can get to this, but let's focus on this. And having those kind of like the short-term goals, long-term goals, so they can have some wins in the short run, keeps them excited and gets them getting results, which is ultimately going to grow your business. And that's what I found. When guys, I tried Pro Coach as well, and my clients wanted more. They wanted more stuff. So it's like, okay, they want more stuff. Let's give them more wins, so they don't feel like they're just kind of stuck in neutral.
Thank you. Super helpful.
Daniel, what do you got?
Technological issues with me every day. um, so I mean, definitely like congratulations on it. It's definitely going to take time. I mean, if you're going from one thing to another thing, or you're doing this part time, it definitely takes a lot of sort of learning. I mean, I've been in the health and wellness kind of field or industry in different various parts for 12 years now. And I mean, every day you're learning something, and every day you're trying to grow, and every day you're also trying to understand what your ideal client really is. So at this point, you're probably going to take on this broad net where you're going to catch a lot of different people in this net. And eventually you're going to say, hey, this category over here of person is really who I like to work with and who I like to operate with because I not only can I feel like I can help them the most, but I get the most gratification from helping them. And you're gonna kind of take off in that sense when you find that person that really stands out in your um, kind of skill set. So that's what I would like to add. Hopefully that helps you.
That does, thank you. I think some of it where I'm at right now is just being comfortable with experimenting a bit and finding my flow, but that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that is awesome feedback. Thank you, coaches. I'll also share very similar in the onset. Like, come in with a game plan and then be uh, perfectly willing to abandon that game plan in the face of client saying, "Hey, I really want to take this path." You can help them explore that path and say, "Hey, here's some of the pros and cons based on the experience that you've shared with me so far and your previous experience. How might that align with what you did well previously? How might that clash with your previous experience where that was or was not successful? If you want to still continue down that path, I can support you with those things. But this is a very client-led experience. You'll let me know where you want to take this. Uh, we have to, as I think, as Anna mentioned in the chat, like we have to be willing to not be too overly attached to a specific client outcome and understand that ideally in this engagement, we're helping them build their autonomy. So making those choices is part of that coaching experience that we're offering to them as well.
That's a good reminder, thank you.
See the last thought. Oh, there you go. You got your hand up. What do you got?
Hi. So it's also to show the client kind of like a picture of what that looks like. So I also have a lot of clients who have been into yo-yo dieting and then they are coming to me. So one of them asked me, what do you think about a low carb diet? Right. So I asked them, how long are you willing to do a low carb diet? Is it 1 month, 2 month, 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years? How long are you willing to stay disciplined to follow a particular diet? So that caught them off guard because they know that their real life would not allow them to be on strict diets. They have to be more flexible because they have a child and they have a full-time job and they have responsibilities. So kind of showing them the picture of how a diet or a something like that looks like has helped me a lot, which kind of brings them back into center, and then we talk more about, but there is an easier way to do this, I think.
I love the what do you think about XYZ conversation. My most common response these days is uh, I don't really think about that thing at all, really. Like, but if you're asking me from an enjoyment perspective, from a longevity perspective, from a planetary sustainability perspective, we could take this conversation in a lot of different ways. And then the end of that conversation normally turns it back to, but if you're asking me this question, what are your thoughts regarding this thing? And before I give like a committal response, I can find out a little bit more about their motivation for doing the thing. Uh, Also, a reminder that whatever path we take, so let's use Seathel's example, like low carb diet here, chances are they've had either some experience or they've known someone who has had a positive experience with it. And that is really what they're asking about. Uh, and I'll let them know that, yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we can generate success and see those successful stories. If it's something that they were previously successful in the past, would exploring this again take you to a place that you were happy with? Like the way that you were living when you were engaged in that lifestyle, is that something that you want to experience again? Are there other barriers that are preventing you from doing that? And is this something that you need my support with? Or are you asking me more for permission to do this thing that you kind of inherently know suck the life out of you, but you feel like it's the surest way to success? And if that's the case, I'll be there to tell you that there are many ways to succeed here, and maybe some of them are less life sucking if you're willing to explore.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation that you bring up here, and one that you can take in a lot of different ways. I know as like a newer coach, it's sometimes intimidating to handle. The thing that I think makes it the most comforting thought I can share with you is that if we're uh, really kind of centered on how do I provide this person with the best result, and my reputation or my livelihood is dependent on their results. It's like, no, it's not. It's their ability to take action that predicates any result. My guide or my role here is much more diverse than that, and not only solely related on the outcome that they see on a scale or ability to fit into a pair of pants. There's a lot more we can offer. Cool. Anyone have any additional feedback for Samantha before we move on? Uh, then next area of discussion or conversation here, I'm curious to know, is there anyone here that is currently enrolled in our current cohort or engaged in our current cohort for the Coaching Business Kickstarter? I assume there's some degree of crossover between folks in our coaching community. Sarah, you got your hand up. Is that a yes?
Yeah, that's just a yes. I'm in the current business Kickstarter. I just finished the PN1. I think I had started in October, so I finished in February, I think. And then, yeah, so now I'm in the business Kickstarter course. So
Cool.
I'm just getting started with testing out Pro Coach. So I don't know what topic you're about to go into next, but I'm also in general just curious about people's experience with it, because I really like it, but I think I like it because it feels like it makes me feel safe. Like I feel like, okay, I know what to do, what I have in front of me. I feel very confident about like the suggestions I'm giving and the resources I'm providing. It's like training wheels kind of for me right now. I'm just curious about,
100%, yeah.
you know, like in the long run, how people feel about it, if their clients are responsive to it, if it's overwhelming to people, et cetera. But we can discuss whatever you wanted to discuss first, and then, you know.
I'm happy to set aside my plan at a moment's notice. Let me just go to Daniel real quick. Daniel, are you also in CBK?
No, actually, I just was actually curious about what it was, because I'm actually on the waiting list for the master level 2 for precision nutrition.
Okay, cool.
And I
Happy
was
to answer your
potentially gonna,
question and differentiate between the two.
yeah.
So CBK more aligned for coaches who want to take current skill set and then convert that into a business. So it's like I could be currently enrolled in level 1, I could be completed level 1, I could be enrolled level 2, completed level 2, but I have a skill set that I want to share with people, and I am unfamiliar with kind of like the business application side of coaching. So whatever your skill set is, wherever it currently is, you can start to put some thought and structured effort into building your coaching business. And that's what we're working through in that 5-week course. So going from kind of like, what do I want to call my business, to pricing, to how do I want to market it? How do I want to attract clients, as well as kind of the coaching process as well. So we'll go through all those things, including tools and other considerations that are less common when people are starting their coaching business, but they are very useful when we put them kind of at the head of the column, as opposed to several months or years down the road. So that's what the CBK course is. For level 2, we're more looking to develop our coaching skills. So you may already have an existing coaching business. You may feel like I have the base knowledge to be a coach, but I need to improve my communication and confidence in delivering that content to clients. So that is where level 2 comes in. And that is much more engaged in the science and art of coaching, as opposed to developing more knowledge or a particular knowledge base.
Yeah. No, that makes sense in terms of the difference, and I think I'm in the right one.
Cool.
Again,
Sounds good.
the delivery and the knowledge is definitely where I need to be.
Awesome. And then, yeah, Sarah, so you were asking more in line with Pro Coach. Um, I think the way that you describe it actually is a really great selling point for someone who answers a lot of Pro Coach based questions. If it feels familiar to you as a new PN grad and it feels like it gives you confidence in the recommendations that you're making with kind of like your first initial set of clients, uh, and it feels familiar, then these are all things that, yeah, that was an intentional design move on PN's part. It should feel like quite a natural extension from going from your level one or two course material into then delivering that content in a meaningful way to clients. So if you're finding that it's like, oh yeah, this seems familiar to me, that is entirely intentional on our part. And as I often say when asked in the larger like Facebook community, what are your thoughts on Pro Coach for new coaches or for as a coaching platform? I think every coach should start with Pro Coach. It may not meet your explicit needs as a coach. Like if you're a coach who's a personal trainer or a rehab specialist and you want to design really highly specific exercise programs, then Pro Coach probably won't make sense for you in the long run. It doesn't have uh, it doesn't have kind of like the ability to generate exercise programs or unique exercise programs. It'll work for a lot of folks if you're not interested in writing like weekly or monthly programming for people. Like that's a skill set that I used to really enjoy as a personal trainer, but at this point in my coaching career, it's just not really something that lights a fire for me. And I'd rather not spend hours a week or a month writing new programs for folks where it's just like, oh, this plug and play option would do the exact same job. So something to consider on that front.
Yeah, I kind of realized I could either reinvent the wheel or just use this, because I was kind of struggling with like, how do I design my approach, like setting up a call? And I know all that information is provided in the course and everything, but um, it's so far been super helpful. I'm very curious to hear clients' feedback to using it on their end. Because when it was
Mhm.
first described to me, I was like, whoa, who would what? This is like a lot of stuff to throw at someone who probably is like super busy. Like my
Mhm.
clientele is, I mean, everybody's busy, but um it seemed like a lot to throw at a person until I sort of like got more into it. So if anyone has any client feedback about Pro Coach, I'd be very curious to hear that. Generally positive, a mixed bag, what kind of feedback people are getting.
Uh, yeah, coaches, I'll open it up to you here, especially if you've used various different software. What are your experiences like? While people are compiling their thoughts, I will say, uh, oh, actually, sorry, Daniel's got his hand up. Go for it, Daniel.
I haven't used Pro Coach before, but I have used a software called My PT Hub. Um, the thing that I always look at is like your engagement. If you're kind of looking at from a standpoint of like how engaged you're going to be or how much you're going to get from it, it's really about how much you involve them to get involved with it. So if you're designing workouts on there, or you're designing nutrition things on there, or you're kind of using it for like almost a way to keep tabs for yourself because you want to just compartmentalize every kind of thought and idea you have into this, and it's more of a kind of self-isolating idea. It may nobody in your circle of coachees, the one that you're coaching, uh, may not actually use it because there's no discussion about it. There's no like, hey, and then they get like one or two things here and there, and they just ignore it because it's like every other spam mail in their thing. They're not gonna engage with it because it's not in the discussion. So it's basically about interaction. Like how much are you interacting with them about it? And is this kind of this round table discussion, you might say, like, is that going on? So
yeah, it kind of sounds like you're saying like the availability of features is secondary to the utility of them. How does this influence our conversations and their overall experience? So having all the bells and whistles is not maybe as useful as having a few things that you use really well.
that's exactly right.
Cool. Thank you, Daniel. Kate, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I think when we're concerned about using a particular platform or particular approach and wondering if it might be too much, we either don't know if it's actually going to be too much, or we're basing the fact that it's going to be too much on our own perception, right? So for example, I find my Fitness Pal to be too much. Like for me, that's too much. That's too much tracking. That's too much information. It breaks down like sodium, potassium, and all the foods. Like that's a lot of data for me. And with that, I kind of then have an assumption, however correct or however erroneous, that my clients will find my Fitness Pal to be too much also. So I think whenever we ask, like, what do people think about Pro Coach? What do coaches think about Pro Coach? What do clients think about Pro Coach? We can very confidently say some people love it, some people hate it, and then there's a bunch of people in between. Because that's going to be true for, well, any tool that exists. So I think Jer kind of pointed out at that. Do we start with ourselves? Like, have you used Pro Coach as a user, as a receiver of that information? And how do you feel about it? Because if you enjoy the structure, the curriculum, the fact that you don't have to guess what's next, you kind of have that habit-based approach, if you can see how it can be effective and awesome, you can then talk about it to your clients and they will be just as excited as you are, right? Like, so you notice it kind of starts with us as a coach. So try out the tool and see if it feels like a fit, like it feels like a match. Do you see the value and how it kind of fits into your coaching approach? Jared, would you add anything to that? Is there like kind of Pro Coach guru?
No, I mean that I think kind of summarizes it quite well. It's like, what is my familiarity with the thing? What do I appreciate about it? Then I'll be able to transmit that kind of awareness to my clients a little bit better. Uh, we always encourage folks to create a demo account when they set up a Pro Coach account so that you can see kind of on both sides. What does it look like on the day to day? How should I help them navigate things? We've tried to make it as intuitive and user friendly as possible, but with anything, there's always going to be like a slight learning curve to it.
Does that help? I don't know who asked the question. It might have
Yeah,
been
yeah. Thank you.
Sarah. Hey, yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think everyone is right for various reasons. And I love your point about, you have to take away your opinion of whether it's a software or even like a suggestion. Like I've been speaking with people and often, in your mind, you have an idea of how the conversation is going to go. And then they say something like that goes down a totally different road and it's a different solution and it's great and it's wonderful and it's all led by them, which I think is so cool about the way that we're sort of taught to approach our clients. And I think it's just the same holds true for Pro Coach, for any software. And it's really, learning how to communicate with your clients about the different things you can offer as a coach. And
You got it. And I think also clients are incredibly adaptable. They will do what you ask if they see the value, right? And assuming that they're paying you for your assistance, they will follow you. Now, I have used Slack. I have used Voxer. I have used WhatsApp. If I sign up to work with a coach tomorrow, and they use, I don't know, TikTok for direct messaging. I don't even know if TikTok allows direct messaging. Am I going to be like the biggest fan of that? No. Will I do that? Yes, because I'm working with that coach and that's the platform that they use, right? So I will follow them and their tools. And I will adapt, I will learn. A lot of my clients have never used the messaging app that I used before, and they set it up. I have, an introduction, I have the how-to instructions, I made it like super duper clear. So this is where I keep going back to Brene Brown's quote, clear is kind, right? Like we can do a lot, we're incredibly adaptable, but it needs to be clear. So if clients are clear on how to use the system, where to go, how to log in, how often they will get communications, what they're supposed to do once they're in it, they will adapt and they will love it.
Thank you so much.
Also, really good feedback for you, Sarah, in the chat box as well. So feel free to take a look through there. As I'm looking through there, for Angel, how does Pro Coach help with sleep recovery course? Does it give options for specific areas of coaching? It does, and we normally refer to them as skills, or like they're in specific skill trees. So I have the resources page up right now. There are things for nutrition, movement, stress, sleep, change, and then there's the advanced workout options as well. So if PN has taught you how to modify those things, chances are we have a skill tree that is complementary to it. So I can't think of too many things that we talk about that we haven't offered some sort of skill in practice where you can begin to work on those things with your clients. Yeah, and I mean, just to kind of cap off our conversation regarding tech apps and all the tools, uh, the thing that's going to make the biggest difference in your business is going to be your ability to communicate clearly and professionally with your clients, and then show up and be a person that they want to meet with. Uh, so use a tool that kind of gives you the most comfort initially. If you need more bells and whistles, then you'll seek out a solution or create a custom solution for yourself. But besides that, most clients are sticking with you and working with you because you're someone that they want to continue to connect with. Cool. Any additional questions or conversations pop up for anyone before we move on? Just checking the chat box.
I'm driving, but
Uh,
I'm listening to everything you're saying. Can
yes,
you hear me?
yes, we can hear you, Raphael.
Okay. I would like to ask. I have a client who is obese. Okay, I've never worked with a person who is morbidly obese, and I am not sure what's the best way to calculate the macros and calories just to start from there. Can you give me some information about that? What would be the best way from your point of view?
Uh, have thoughts, question, or coaches, any thoughts here to share with Raphael in terms of beginning to use macro calculations with a client who has obesity?
Sorry, what's the question?
I was just rephrasing your question for our coaches here to see if anyone wanted to weigh in.
Oh,
Tony, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, with a client that's like morbidly obese, the first thing I would ask is what are they ready, willing, and able to do before I start giving any type of like macro, recommendations. What are they doing now, and what could we improve on? What are they doing well, and figuring out their bright spots, especially someone who's, because if they're morbidly obese, obviously there's some drastic changes that have to happen. So I try to give them the lowest hanging fruit so they can get some wins right away.
okay.
So part of this discussion, I'm going to just pop this into the chat box. For professionals here who are unaware, we've shifted away from using the term morbidly obese because it is not a clear definition. So there are new classifications for obesity. So if you want to take a look at that, I've popped them into the chat box. What we'd be referring to here is class 3 obesity. The next thing that I would say is that on both kind of tails of the spectrum for body mass, so people who are incredibly low BMI or on the higher side of BMI, the calculations tend to, so calculators that exist out there tend to be less geared towards those people just because they're not as represented in the population as much. So they might be skewed slightly. That being said, any calculator output that you get is always going to be a give you a starting point as an estimate, and then you would make adjustments as needed. So if you used, for example, like our PN professional calculator and you put in your client's metrics there, and it gave you a number that looked like very suspect to you, either it was far too few calories or there's macros that are essentially non-existent there, what you would do is either modify the time scale that you're looking for a specific body transformation, or you would adjust to have a more moderate goal, and then from there it should give you a more realistic kind of output. And then, of course, based on what your client is currently doing and what that output says, you would just make adjustments there. So if it says something like eat 300 grams of protein and your client is barely cracking 100, the goal would be to slowly move them up towards the recommendation, as opposed to change all your lifestyle in order to meet the recommendations immediately.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Yeah, Leah, you have your hand up as well.
So, because I work with like a lot of people, I wouldn't say that morbid obese, but I'm going to say who are definitely their fat percentage is higher. A good portion of my clients are over 225 pounds plus. I do have one that's up to 325 right now. And you know, they're not different than really any other clients, except there's just more to lose, right? So things that have worked for me is trying to figure out and just have them do their tracking and their logging, so you actually can see how much they're consuming. I know, like for myself, because I had gained a lot of weight. So personally for me, a lot of it is that I was starving myself. I thought I was eating good, and I was literally eating like 600 calories a day and trying to do all this stuff, and my body just kept holding on to it because it went into like this starvation fight or flight mode. So my body just kept holding on to things until I finally got my metabolism back in check. But I would see where they were at on their food before making any kind of cuts, because you might need to adjust to get their metabolism going, if that makes sense. So like looking at, like, just like Jeremy had said, looking at their macros based off of, what you might want to lose, or like, like say you're trying to lose like 20 pounds in 3 months or whatever that time frame looks like. You might have to add on to that just to get that metabolism working, and then things are going to happen. And then also another thing that I look at, or I help with my clients on these things, because it's such a big number, it can seem so overwhelming, right? Like they're trying to lose, say, like over 100 pounds. When you look at that number as 100 pounds, it seems like a lot. So really try to keep them focused on that smaller number. Sometimes it scales, like for women, it's my favorite, because they'll look at it per kid, right? So it's like, okay, I gained this much weight when I had this child. I want to do that. So it's like, okay, here's our first goal. Let's just focus on that one thing, because it can seem huge. It's like a mountain, right? So just helping them with those smaller goals, and over time it's going to work. And then just keeping that motivation for them, keeping them encouraged. That's also a big part of it, because a lot of times they don't see the results, because we want things instant, regardless of how we are. All of us want things instant. That's just part of our nature. but just keeping those goals in mind all the time. Taking pictures is fantastic for people that are heavier, because you can actually see a lot of things. Even when the scale doesn't move, those pictures help so much. So those are things that I do. I don't know if that's helpful at all, but it's just good. It's worked for me, and for what I do. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, sure. It helps a lot. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
I really like what Leah said there regarding the smaller goals. So when someone has a lot of weight to lose, two goals that I think are worth celebrating are kind of like the first 10 pounds. So our initial uh, skills that we're going to work on, our goal is to get potentially like that first 10 pounds. We're not going to worry about 150 pounds right now. We're going to go from where we are to drop 10 pounds. From there, the next goal that is relevant for them and clinically relevant, this is one that I've gotten from obesity specialists that I consult with, is dropping 10% of current body weight. We tend to see improvements in a lot of different health markers with that first 10%. For someone who is 300 pounds, that first 30 pounds that they lose is significant, not only from the amount of effort that they required, but on a metabolic scale. So we'll see improvements in blood glucose, in A1C, once they cross over that 10% threshold. So another small, seemingly small victory when we say it is just 10%, but can be another milestone that you can throw their way to say, hey, like, you're doing real things here, even though your journey still has a long way to go. You've made significant improvement. And it's not just something that you're making up, it's a real thing.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, there's a few more items in the chat box. I know you're driving, so I'm not going to expect you to read those. Uh, so I'll point to something that Kate shared in terms of dietary changes will be overall the same. Like we're still trying to create a caloric deficit. That doesn't change. But there may be some limitations as far as movement is concerned, and modification may be required to help them embrace more health behaviors regarding movement, depending on pre-existing conditions and physical limitations. Sorry, modifications. That's the term we're looking for. And then also from an expectation management standpoint, you may see larger fluctuations as a percentage of body weight. So we expect to see 1 to 2% swings for everyone. Basically, like if I weigh throughout the week, I'll see some fluctuations that are between like 1 and 3 pounds, and that would be par for the course. For someone who is in a larger body, who is in, let's say, like 300 pounds or plus, 1 to 2% for them may seem like a very dramatic shift, where it is, again, just fluid gain and loss. So helping them to understand and interpret the numbers as a normal part of their journey is really useful.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Anna, yeah, no worries, Raphael. Anna, you've had your hand up for a minute. What do you got?
Hey, I'm wondering if I'm being effective and also, yeah. So I've been coaching a longtime friend. He was more of an acquaintance back then, but he's been hospitalized and in between that and skilled nursing now for months. And his family has met with some really unspeakable tragedies in the last few months, and they're also a little further away than me. So I'm hearing and I'm also coaching at the same time because he's got some dementia. And so just this morning, like, I just want to know if I handled this well. So this morning, I was on the phone with him and the nurse came in. She wanted to take his vitals. And he said, no, I'm on the phone. And I said, Paul, I will call you back. We have time. And so I had to say that a couple of times because he was kind of yelling at her. And I finally just hung up so she could do her job. And when I called back, he started in about how rude she was for interrupting his phone call. And I kind of chuckled a bit and I said, hey, she's not rude. Nurses are stretched and they aren't there to provide care at your convenience. It's really important to let them do their job so you can receive the best care. And we're not really in charge of ourselves when we're in the hospital. So you're a very charming man. And if you turn on that charm, I think you're going to get more bees. And if you really don't feel like turning on the charm, be that great actor I've known you to be. You can do that. And I was kind of cheeky, and he didn't give me any pushback. He was kind of like, oh, because he's seen me as a comrade in a way, almost in a way against his family, who's saying you have to be here. Because, and I just keep telling him I'm not in charge of your where you are, and I don't, of your money and all that stuff. So I'm just curious about what your thoughts are on that and how you would, anybody here who has some insights on that.
Daniel, you have your hand up.
Yeah. So I'll say you really, I mean, it sounds like you handled it really beautifully, um, in many more ways than you might realize. My grandmother actually passed away from Alzheimer's, dementia, stuff like that. So, it's not an easy thing to deal with. It's not an easy thing to help people that almost can't really make some of those decisions for themselves. So, yeah, I very commendable. Good job.
Thank you. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, I mean, I will add here that there's a larger conversation regarding helping clients to navigate the medical system is a service that we can offer to our clients. Many of them will be engaged with a primary physician or a specialist for either something that we are helping them work on, or it could be something that is seemingly disparate and unrelated. It all falls under the same umbrella of health. So helping clients to navigate those conversations is incredibly useful, asking better questions. In this instance, it sounded like we were helping them to navigate this with a little bit more grace because they are receiving care from that nurse. And as you mentioned, uh, that is a professional who is likely quite stretched in their resources and the time they have to devote to probably dozens of patients, if not hundreds of patients. So I think you help them in a really special way there, and hopefully uh, that will help to encourage those conversations to be a little bit more compassionate next time.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, not under the purview of our normal scope for coaches, but certainly helping people to ask better questions of their care providers, to bring up certain details and stuff like that. All things that get washed aside when we go in for medical care, and then we kind of stare wide-eyed at the professional as they share a list of details with us. Some of them we know, some of them we don't. And then you walk out of the meeting and you're like, "What did they tell me to do? What was I? What did I mean to ask?" Helping clients to kind of prepare, write things down, to role play those situations is incredibly useful.
Oh, thank you. Great idea.
Cool. We are coming up on time. Any last ideas for today before we wrap up? Dan, I'm not sure if you still have your hand up or if you have.
I got a question.
Um,
Last question. I'm sorry.
Go for it, Raphael.
Okay, so is there another way throughout the week that we can like ask this kind of questions? Sometimes you don't, you just need validation, That what would be the way to do that? The best way to get response or maybe a quicker response? Would that be in the Facebook group or what?
Certainly, Facebook group is the best way to like you can tag some of the moderator team if you'd like, but you'll also likely get responses from 50,000 community members. So feel free to put your questions there. I would say the more specific and clear you are able to communicate there, the better the quality of responses you are likely to get.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, actually, some final thoughts on posting in the Facebook community to get responses. Uh, I just said there, like the more kind of like detailed and clear you can be, uh, really be clear with your questioning and then provide relevant details. Also, throw in a period and some spaces in there so people can actually read the thing that you're writing and they don't walk into a wall of text. Uh, these are all things that make it easier for others to respond and then give you more insight into what it is that you're asking. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, no worries. It looks like we're coming up on time for today, so we'll call it there. Thank you again for everyone who offered questions and feedback to folks here. It's how we learn and support each other. Thanks, gang.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.